Hello, my name is Barnaby Lennon, and today I'm going to be talking about latitude and longitude. All places on Earth have a latitude and longitude, which tells you where they are on the planet. So let's start with latitude. So latitude is a line drawn around the Earth which tells you how far north or south of the equator a place is. The equator, you will know, is a line which goes around the middle of the Earth at its widest point. And all the other lines of latitude are lines north or south of the equator. That's the North Pole on the top. There's the South Pole on the bottom. And these are two special lines north of the equator, the Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle. They're at 66 degrees north and 23 degrees north. And these are two special lines south of the equator, the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. This is the Antarctic and this is the Arctic here. And that's 23 degrees south and 66 degrees south. Now let's talk for a moment about what these lines of latitude actually mean. Let's have a look at this globe here. So the line of latitude is the angle between a place, the centre of the Earth, shown by this red blob, and the equator. So the angle of a line of latitude is the angle between that place, the centre of the Earth, and the equator. It's that angle there. So the equator is at 0 degrees. The Tropic of Cancer at 23, the Arctic Circle at 66, and the North Pole is at 90 degrees. 90 degrees to the equator. And the same with the southern hemisphere. The South Pole is 90 degrees south of the equator. So the range of values is from 0 to 90. And because each line of latitude covers quite a big distance between one and another, the lines of latitude are themselves broken up into 60 minutes, and each minute is broken up into 60 seconds. So the Tropic of Cancer, to be completely accurate, 23 degrees, 26 minutes and 16 seconds north of the equator. Everywhere north of the equator is in the northern hemisphere, and everywhere south of the equator is in the southern hemisphere. And before the invention of sat-nav, people were able to measure their latitude by using an instrument called a quadrant, which they pointed at the sun or a star, measured the angle to the sun or the star, and then looked up in a published table which told them their latitude. Now longitude is a measurement which tells you how far east or west you are of a line which goes through London. This is called the prime meridian. So let's mark on the United Kingdom there. And this line, the prime meridian, goes right the way through Greenwich. It was fixed as being what's called the prime meridian at a meeting in 1884, where the various countries involved agreed that would be 0. And that is 0 degrees. And it goes right the way through the North Pole and then round the other side of the Earth. And on the other side of the Earth is actually 180 degrees. Let's have a look at a different globe to show you how longitude is actually measured. Longitude is the angle a place makes when its longitude is taken down to the equator with the centre of the Earth and the prime meridian. So let's imagine we were trying to find out the longitude of this place here. You go down to the equator, then up to the centre of the Earth, and then back to the prime meridian going through London, which is this one here, and it's that angle there which is the longitude of the place. It tells you how far east or west of the prime meridian going through London you are. So that's longitude. And longitude, before the invention of the sat-nav, was measured using an instrument called a sextant, which measured the angle that you were in relation to the sun, given stars or the moon. And then, if you knew the exact time at Greenwich in London, you could work out from a table what your longitude was. Incidentally, we call these lines of longitude meridians, they go around like this, meridians. And you know that when we're talking about the time of day, we talk about AM and PM. Well, AM means ante-meridian, and PM means post-meridian. And the meridian is the point which the sun crosses midway between sunrise and sunset in the day. And that's where the terms AM and PM come from. Let's talk for a moment about the seasons. The Earth is tilted at an angle to the sun. So this is the sun here. This is the Earth in June, with the northern hemisphere pointing a bit towards the sun. Here is the Earth in January. And you can see that the northern hemisphere is pointing a little bit away from the sun. So that's why the northern hemisphere is warmer in June and colder in January. In June, in the summer, the northern hemisphere points towards the sun. In January, the northern hemisphere points away from the sun. And of course, the exact reverse is true of the southern hemisphere. In June, it's pointing away from the sun, so that's their winter. In January, it's pointing towards the sun, so that's their summer. And we've already talked about the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. What are these special lines of latitude? The Arctic Circle, the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, and the Antarctic Circle. Well, the Arctic Circle is the line which marks the point where, on at least one day of the year, there is no daylight in the winter. Because in the winter, all of this part of the globe is pointing away from the sun in January, and so on at least one day of the year at the Arctic Circle, there is no daylight at all. The sun does not get above the horizon. Of course, the further north you go, the more days there are where there is no daylight in winter. And the opposite is true in the summer. In the summer, the Arctic Circle marks the point where there is at least one day where there is no night time. It doesn't get dark. The sun never goes down below the horizon. So the Arctic Circle marks the point at which, in the winter, there's at least one day when there's no light, and in the summer, there's at least one day when there's no night time. And the Antarctic Circle represents exactly the same thing, but for the southern hemisphere. Now, the Tropic of Cancer is the line which marks the point where, on at least one day of the year, the sun is directly overhead. You see, down nearer the equator, the sun is directly overhead most days of the year. As you move further north, so the number of days where the sun is directly overhead gets fewer and fewer until when you reach the Tropic of Cancer, there's only one day of the year when the sun is directly overhead. North of the Tropic of Cancer, when you looked up into the sky, you would find that even in the middle of summer, the sun was not directly overhead. And the Tropic of Capricorn is exactly the same thing, but for the southern hemisphere. Now let's think about solstices and equinoxes. Solstice is the name given to the longest and the shortest days in the year. In the northern hemisphere, the longest day is June the 20th or 21st every year, and the shortest day is December the 21st or 22nd. And the reverse is true in the southern hemisphere, where their shortest day is June the 20th or 21st, and their longest day is December the 21st or 22nd. So the solstices are the longest and the shortest days in the year. The equinoxes are the days when there is exactly 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of night all over the Earth. The spring equinox is on March the 20th, and the autumn equinox September the 22nd or 23rd. So the equinoxes happen twice a year, when the day and the night are of equal length. And that's latitude and longitude.